you're likely to go towards something like a Zeri Lulu at this point. That is not a lane which deals well with something like Samira Rel. Now, maybe you're banking on OMG locking in the Samira, but not something like the Rel alongside it, so you don't have like the Premier Lane partnership for something like that.
No way.
I don't know. I know that Lucian Nami's up, but it's able, guys. Just pick the Samira.
I'm surprised.
Okay, guess we're doing this. I don't know. Don't really feel it.
Okay. Could be Samira Nami, although that's really just not not as ideal.
Maybe. Don't spread such blasphemy here.
I know. Look, at the very least, it looks like OMG is going to be a bit more solid down in the bottom. Well, not solid, but a bit more ordinary down in the bottom lane. While you look at RA and what they get without the Yuumi, Zeri, Lulu, and what other jungler Nymaera? Because I feel like that's the next path, right?
Well, I actually wonder, because they hovered over that Sylas. Actually, pretty okay at that point, too. I could lock it in. All right, no, it's going to jungler as well. We are back to jungle bot lane drafts. You know, you can sit here and just watch any analyst under the sun just be like, oh boy, we're back to drafting jungle and bot lane. I feel like really jungle champion pools have not been nearly tested enough. We've seen some junglers across the world kind of pick up stuff like Lilia. I actually think that something like Morgana jungle is actually really, really good now as well. There are some AP junglers kind of hanging around in regards to that. We've seen particularly someone like Meteor pick up some different picks. I am surprised that some teams have not at least experimented in best of threes to try and leave your jungler through to a little bit of a later pick. Because actually right here, if you'd locked in a Sylas on this pick, you could have locked in that Sylas. You can already steal the Nami ult, which is pretty okay. You can steal the Sejuani ult, which is very good. It's one of Strive's best champions. It says most played across the split as well. And then you can just lean on your jungler to have something in the pocket as well to pull out. But not to be the case in this draft. Instead, OMG are going to be removing some of Cube's problem champions, that the Jax and the Gwen, probably first and foremost amongst them. Cube didn't really have that much opportunity to impact that last game. It wasn't really about him, but you can't afford to let Cube onto a very good 1v1 matchup because Cube has been one of our best top laners in the LPL spring.
Yeah, he's been someone who, again, is always a rising star, so deserves the respect.
Oh, that's banned too, the Rise. Yeah, great. Good that you mentioned that.
Yeah, look, at the very least, though, I'm surprised. Look, dude, I'm just surprised it made it all this way. Rise never makes it far in the draft. It's always like first pick worthy, so I'm kind of surprised it got banned this late on.
Yeah, so banning away the blind pick as well of the K'Sante away from Shanji. And it's just a lot of blind picks being removed, right? Stuff which is a bit of comfort. And by letting through this, you are potentially allowing Creme to pick up the Sylas, which is a little easier to play in skirmishes and teamfights than something like the One, which is of course banned away. I don't think you've got a great amount of ults to steal, though. I'm not massive on this. I actually want... See, I would suggest picking up something like a Syndra because you don't have the best ult to steal and then you're kind of lacking a lot of stuff at that point. Doing that into the Nami and the Lucian kind of sucks, though, because they kind of run at you with ults and it's a little problematic. Might go towards some more safety, even at the cost of giving Creme a bit more ability to steal away good ultimate. Spirit Rush and Sylas. One of those matchups where Sylas just uses your ult better than you do, and he has an extra dash on top of that too with his E, so that gets a little bit spooky in that matchup, but still, Strive, Leyan doing a really good job with their pick combo in that last game. If you're looking something like a Renekton as well, very strong ability to skirmish around top side. Already with those three champions, I can tell you, if they have ults and summoners available for Herald, OMG should be nowhere near it, even with something like a Sejuani and a Sylas being good around Herald at their own right. These three champions just pop off if you let them fight around that 8-minute mark, around the level 6-7 mark. So OMG, very careful around that timestamp. Maybe locking in the Sion again for Shanji. But into the Renekton, you can suffer in that matchup, actually, particularly if it goes for like Blade the Ruin King first. You can get shut out of the game fairly early on with one look in topside from jungle. And
so on the other side of CRA, and I'm like, well, okay, you have a Zeri, Lulu down in the bottom lane. We have a really good mid jungle and a strengthened top lane. I mean, Nymaera again for RA. I feel like this is a much more solid draft than game one, and they won game one.
They won game one, yeah, for sure. And the way that they did that was by out team fighting. I think it's harder to team fight with this kind of composition if Shanji gets ahead, because you're sat there with like actual double front line instead of the AP Maokai. Picking off the Sejuani is a really hard thing to do. So what I'm looking for Rare Adam is to play through topside Snowball if at all possible. I know that putting attention bots
once again, and I just want to watch Strive.
敌军还有30秒到达战场。
As do I. He's going back towards the spell, but
Oh.
nice dodge away.
Beautiful sidestep. And you know what? Leyan's coming in. What a baller to follow this through, but he's going to probably have to back now as Abel gets some good gold for his benefit.
I would actually really like to know what secondary runes these champions all have, because level 1 fights, look, this isn't going to stop anyone getting back to lane, but you have got a couple of first strike procs coming out from the Sylas and the Lucian, and then of course some support item gold coming in from PP God. Sometimes that actually can be quite impactful if you have something like a mana flow band on your sorcery. I don't think any of these champions take those, so that's not going to be a factor. It's just worth just keeping it in mind for those level ones.
Just cheeky little hits back and forth. Gonna have junglers starting on top side of the map, or at least one of them rather. Opposite side here for Leyan, down towards bot. As a bit of damage was done on OMG's bottom lane. Sssum and Southwind, after that, pivoted down through river, got some wards along it, and actually just started pretty deep in their own lane. So Poke already starts out looking for that early level 2.
I think Leyan, again, we kind of talked about how if he manages to get anything done topside, works out really, really well for Rare Adam. So for me, it doesn't surprise me that he's going for the bot side into potential topside clear. I don't think this is a game where you want to be stopping off towards bot side looking for any big plays unless you're just trying to protect bot lane. Maybe that's the angle for it. See if maybe he crosses over mid lane and looks for something early there too, because Creme is in, of course, the melee side of the matchup and is currently pushing in. Might be a window to get some damage on mid and then kind of see if Strive can do anything with his early laning players as well. But that's where I'm really looking at my eyes. We're hovering over this bot lane right now as it crashes in, but with Rare Atom not having their own jungler around, this should basically just be wave collected at level 2 hit. And Ahri, though, looking to see if he can go over.
Oh, okay. Well, look at the timing here. He'll burn already from Southwind. Flash as well. Ahri just walks in burning nothing of his own.
Yeah, well, this is why I was a little bit surprised that Ahri actually got anything done there. Q cooldown for Sejuani really long early on. It's like a 18-second cooldown, something like that. But still, we're at the bot lane, Southwind Aston. Don't actually get that ward into the brush. Ahri skirts around that vision, but Leyan seeing Ahri hop over that wall. He's ahead in his jungle clear now. He heads over into that bottom side of the map. Maybe even gets a blue buff steal around. Of course, it's harder to take enemy jungle camps in this season. That's one of the things that was changed in preseason. Ahri gonna run into him again. Leyan just battle warding for now.
Just battling him out, and Creme is low on mana, so there's not much he can do. And to help out his own jungler, his Strive has been the one bullying him out here in the range versus melee matchup. So spotted Ahri, who now goes up towards the top side, and Leyan still on the bottom. As we go for the all-in, down in the bottom lane, heal's been burned. It's just the power of Lulu and Zeri, despite it being Lucian Nami who just hit 3.
Yeah, it turns. Oh, we have to see what happens here. There's no smite available. Oh, he gives it up. He doesn't have smite. Cube, topside control. Now, Renekton is obviously a champion that does kind of get a lot of power in early waves. He gets to kind of sustain pretty well if he manages to tap you with an empowered Q, and gets to push in very well with that column peak too. But being able to take away a scuttle, that's really annoying. Ahri, he spent time to kind of get those summoners on this bot side, which meant that he was a little bit further behind. Cube uses that well to make sure that he can just disrupt him a little bit more. Ahri not quite landing the blows which he would have liked to in this early game, but still making his presence known. Fairly valuable for OMG.
And so for OMG, in the meanwhile, he's got to track and see what Ahri can do in some of these other lanes. Remember that he burnt the flash for Sssum towards bot just before. And he also has a melee, well, he has melee to all lanes throughout as well. So for OMG, it feels like it should be many options available. As I'm kind of just wondering as to how bot continue plays out, because we do get an early reset from Abel and PB God. Their wave's going to be shoved in. They're actually going to miss this wave, all for the pickaxe.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what kind of health they were kind of sitting around at that point, because one of the big problems about bot lane is that if you don't, sometimes you have to lose a lane just to be able to play the next phase of lane, particularly in a very bursty lane like these two as well. If you're sitting around on a turret where you're kind of low range and you're kind of eating like a Zeri W or the Little Ants or something like that, sitting around at low HP under tower, even though you're picking up the wave, it just feels bad. You can't play around that side of the map, so I think they just choose to lose that wave, come back at full HP and see if they can make a play around something like First Dragon. We've seen a couple of early fights for First Dragon today. It's not always the most common thing, but turns out today is just the flavor of fighting around bot river. Now we have both bot lanes at full HP. Means that maybe you get to see them kind of start off with these item parity now. They both had their first back. And see if you can get a good burst trade in from OMG and make that back worthwhile.
As long as something happens in the game, I won't complain. That's all I care about today. You know, we have had some slow games coming through. As look, here we go, already level 6 by the way. Strive has already started moving down to the bottom side of the map.
Switched over to the Ignite as well. He has his ult,
yeah.
has the Ignite from the spellbook. He's really looking for the play. This is what you do. Also got the first back to Dark Seal as well. Happened last game, had the first blood, which really accelerated him in the game. OMG needs to be very careful around this. If you're running around this first dragon, at least you're not fighting into the Wukong ultimate. That's a good thing. But the back from OMG means that they do actually get to control the wave for this dragon. So that recall, despite them losing them a wave, does end up giving them a leg up in this Baron. Way too early for that. Way too late in the day for me as well, but it gives them this first dragon of the game, or at least a good foothold into it. OMG walk away with the first one of the day. Game.
As you're saying, I mean, sacrificing a lane to get the next state, and they were able to set themselves up for the state of dragon. OMG getting that one first means now for RA, they'll be looking for that advantage up towards the Rift Herald that'll be spawning in about a minute 10, but timing definitely seems to be in OMG's favor as they just use this opportunity to get deeper vision. So I guess we'll find out at the Rift Herald if they feel confident enough to fight, but if you're just looking about confidence, you'll definitely be expecting Cube to have not only that priority, but the ability to impact that Herald, considering he's 10 PS up. Renekton already has a Corpus Warhammer. Wave constantly shoves, so priority up there, also given over.
Yeah, well, as we talked about right from the kind of the end of the draft, Rare Adam's comp around topside is so difficult to play around topside. Now there is the chance that OMG kind of make a pick out of Sejuani ult, Sion ult. Maybe Sylas can come into the fray as well. That can be very, very dangerous. But Wukong, Renekton, Ahri, all very, very good Herald fight players. They want to snowball in this game. Already got that Spellbook Ignite as well. So watch out to see if OMG do approach that. I think they should be on a disadvantage in terms of the champions, so they'll have to find some kind of advantage in the setup to find themselves a leg over Rare Adam.
Wave getting shoved in yet again. All right, Herald just spawned so we can fight each other. Creme's going to go in. At least he's got the memo. Darksteel picked up for this mid laner as well as Cameraman very obsessed with bottom lane this time around. Herald has spawned.
About to say, Herald's up. I mean, I know these are very bursty lanes. They're just about to hit level 6, so maybe level 6, level 5 all-in possibility. I think that's what OMG are afraid of.
Well, they don't even hit level 6. They just go in all anyways. PP God gets a great Aqua Prism to stop that aggression. But Assum's going to have to shove here, so the opportunity to roam up or start moving up, at least if only for Southwind, is now on the board as Leyan starts this. Shanji is just spotted out though, and Aki's been spotted on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, he's been spotted out there. I think this probably just signals that OMG say, nah, don't want any of that noise around Herald. Very dangerous spot to play around the game. Creme, very low mana as well. He'd have to teleport in, but of course doesn't have it. I don't think you get much out of this. All you're doing is trading ult for ult here at best, because you've got no mana on Creme. He doesn't even have any biscuits to give things up, so Aki not really finding much to do with his time here. It's a free Herald over. I suppose OMG, I guess they're not buying into a losing fight. That's the one positive I can think about this. Creme, once again, kind of caught away from, what, with a very low mana bar. Bonk the tower, you get one plate with that. Herald only takes like 1.5 plates by itself nowadays. It doesn't take the full 2. So that's going to be, actually, all of that got, the first plate was shared between Strive and Leyan. Second one was actually just onto Leyan. So first item probably going to be a little bit quicker from that Wukong. And he's got himself a lot of gold to play with now.
Well, Strive's still good though, despite not getting it. He went back to pick up Lost Chapter yet again. In a great position.
Demolish on the Sylas. He greeted for that demolish plate, and he's probably going to have to use that ult right now. Okay, no cycle on use. Leyan, I was wondering if he was going to force out the ult there, but Creme has that demolish, sees those tasty plates on tower and goes, I'll have some of that. But I was a little bit worried that he'd get forced into a bad situation there, but not to be.
If we get to 17 minutes again with no kill, I'm just done.
I'm actually really enjoying the way that this game's going out right now. This is pretty good.
I am now.
No. You're not allowed to fight right now. I'm enjoying this. Please do not change the TV channel. I'm enjoying the current content. Who needs kills? It's
11:30 PM for me. You know, I'm ready to snooze.
We'll hope that something wakes you up in a little bit. Because, I don't know, I don't think there's that much incentive for OMG to fight up until first item spikes are pretty good for them. Particularly, I mean, Lucian Nami first item spike is what they're angling towards at this point. I think inside of Rare Atom, you're looking for mistakes. You don't want to overdive into a... I mean, Silence just uses all topside, so you can't extend there. But like into something like a Sejuani ult when you're diving forward, or Sylas kind of stealing away a Spirit Rush and turning things around. I think for now, up until first item spike, OMG probably shouldn't be too hasty with looking for plays.
Leyan going to be spotted on the ward as he comes down. Talk about hasty. As soon as pressing ulti, does get through everything as a culling. Aim diagonally. Southwind only takes just a bit of a peak of damage as Strive has moved down, but it's that ward that's a pain, and Southwind finally deals with it. Creme's trying to sandwich them in. OMG thinking about this, but Tidal Wave culling from Lucian also go down, so looks like Ahri going to be safe for 10 seconds till Dragon, and OMG are able to get back to River.
I think Lucian Nami not having their ultimates way more impactful than the Lulu and Zeri in this case. At least having the Whimsy for the speed up on Zeri, or any of the engaging champions from Rare Atom, probably more valuable than the base hits of Lucian Nami at this point. It is going to be OMG once again starting up this Dragon. No Spirit Rush importantly. You still have Spellbook Ignite from Strive. It's a little bit of extra fighting power, but yeah, without that Spirit Rush available, and top lane is not coming into the play as well. You've teleported towards that bottom side, top side rather. It does look like two Dragon advantage going over to the side of OMG, and it is an Infernal Rift, Infernal Soul of course, powerful in its own right. So OMG not doing not doing a bad attempt at surviving this early game where Rare Atom probably should have had the advantage more so than they currently have.
And off the back of it, bit of plating as well. Oh, that's a hit for a moment as Rod of Age has also been picked up towards mid lane. I am ready. Strive, do it. Strive. Oh, the man, the myth, the legend. It's double flash, but you cannot run away from the Ahri. Hang on a minute, it could be a bait. Leyan healed up though, nicely done. Sssum doesn't have the ulti. His first blood goes over, and they just weren't able to hit their target.
This reminds me a lot of what happened in game one. It's an overforce from Rare Atom. They should have the ability to play through this early game a little stronger than OMG, but they can't quite find the clean opportunities. They overforce onto Aki at this point, and OMG, they get a kill onto their jungler. They take Leyan off the map, and suddenly OMG get themselves a little bit more gold.
Okay, again.
Mabel, but turn around.
But it's the second time he's ulted out. This time at least he will be able to force the bottom lane from OMG away, as Creme just runs on in with his own wild growth. And OMG's bottom lane forced to go away, which means turret plating will go over to the back of Sssum, who's constantly been trying to force out these two. As we get a replay here, Nymaera, we'll have a look again, because RA did force this.
Yeah, it's an overforce. Very slight miscalculation on the flash cyclone distance. If that first knockup had come through, first bit of damage comes through onto Ahri, maybe this turns out a little better. But either way, Sword is likely to be won by OMG. Steal away that ultimate. Any of the ultimates you choose as Sylas at that point, right? I think maybe Spirit Rush was on cooldown. That was about it. So Rare Atom didn't have that vision control on that bot side. They have one last ward remaining. Was very much an overforce. See first time's getting picked up. We're actually going to have the Leandrius coming out of Ahri this game, which into double tank on top side and being sole AP. Good item pick up for this one. It's going to be, that signal's a bit more appealing front to back rather than diving into that back line, but doing that into a healthy Sion, a healthy Sejuani, it's going to be a bit of a rough thing to do, particularly with the Sion not being put behind, the Renekton not actually doing that much right now. Roll up the Gore Drinker, not even going towards something like a Blade the Ruin King or a Black Cleaver for the Armor Shred. It's going to be difficult for Rare Atom to take down Shanji. Last game was a lot easier. Struggle with it a bit more this time, I feel.
I mean, even with the Rod of Ages coming through from Creme, the health stacking ever so relevant. Strive currently trying to get the bottom lane turret, get some kind of advantage here, but Creme is there in time. Dragon's not up for a bit. Herald's sitting there chilling. My God, these games are slow as hell.
So how are you feeling there? I feel like we've used up a lot of our ammunition in the first game of the first series of the day. We got the crazy out.
Dude, that wasn't great. That was psychopathy.
That was that was terrifying in another way. It's like I said, you know, like some rare atoms, they just gotta get a bit excited, they gotta let off some steam. Maybe they did that in that last game, and now we're just back to cool, calm equilibrium. We're at our stable state now, Hysterics. And I'm just
positive.
Yeah. Someone has to be at this point.
True.
Because you're right, this is low action. Second Herald goes over without a fight. We don't do that here. Apparently not. First items coming through for pretty much everyone on the board now. One item spike hit for Abel and PP God. That might signal a bit of a change in this game because Imperial Mandate and that Gale Force. Actually, second item coming in from Abel as well. When you have Lucian like this, cheap second item and that rapid fire cannon really helps you keep on curve and be very, very strong. Look to see what happens with that Lucian Nami combo. This is a point of power for OMG. This is where they can start aggressing a bit more. And actually with the Herald, with the ult, definitely look to do that. Here we go.
Southwind, okay, caught up, knocked up. There we go, flash away as well. Things getting a little bit interesting. His Stride is going to ult in as well. Please kill people, let the blood rain. Yes, we spin to win. It's Wheel of Fortune from Leyan. Second one comes through as that Zod charging down the mid lane. Cube's coming as well. Baby assumes by himself. What is he doing over in the Witch and the Wardrobe? Now the White Witch follows up as Nani is just in stride here. I'm not sure what RA were doing, but I am sure that OMG did.
Yeah, they just kind of overforce again. They get away with that first pick. I understand that Stripe can kind of walk forwards, look to see if he can get the jump, and they do turn around for one kill, but you got to understand, you are always going to be second in that play. It's, you know, they're just going to be faster with that Sion to the play if you don't have teleports in play. So OMG, much again, similar to that first game, getting away with the extended fights, at least for now, working in their favor. They played around their item spikes, they found a play at the right time, and that's going to lead towards a Dragon Soul point for them. Infernal Soul point being built up, and now we're at them. Need to be really afraid for the next couple of minutes. This is, I don't know. You see those items being built up. I think you need to be very, very careful, particularly as Southwind at this kind of point. You need to be very aware of the fact that OMG are looking for plays at this point. I don't think they necessarily understand the way that the game state has changed. OMG certainly are. They're pushing in towards a turret on that bot side in the picture-in-picture. Looks like we're going to get that one too. So OMG really taking the game into their hands.
What the hell? After just flashed on the spot. Well,
I feel like that might have been an observer bug, because I feel like he did flash out in the way of the Sion. If it was, that's very embarrassing.
Okay.
OMG though, they're definitely sparing the blushes for game one. Very clean take of two inner turrets on that bot side and top side. Woo! I don't think you'd take this turret, do you?
Hang on. Yeah, Leyan has the flash. Oh, RA from just capitalizing massively against OMG in game one to this. Again, this is why you can't trust this team.
Yeah, game two curse for Raraton potentially. Saw it once in the last series versus anyone's legend. This one feels like more of their style of competition. You know, again, that kind of like safe late game insurance in that bot side, bit of playmaking through top side and the 1v1 lane for Cube, but it's just not clean this time. And game one was also reminder, they had to kind of pick that back up from a difficult state too. Now Cube, despite him having such a good split so far, not finding 1v1 advantages, going to be 1v2 on this bot side. He's not walking out of this.
Creme de la Creme, he's got flash, no ulti available yet. 5 seconds for the hijack. We have a Dragon Soul in 3 minutes 30, and this is boding well for OMG. But Nymaera, there's still a Zeri Lulu, and as much as that flash on the spot made me think, that Zeri Lulu will have 2 items soon.
Have to see if they can hit that in time for the Dragon Soul. Have to see if it is. He's got most of his way to his. I believe that's going to be a really nice hurricane coming out second. Because I'm trying to remember with the Zeal. I think it's the dagger goes into Phantom Dancer. Then it's the two. Sorry, no, the longsword goes into the Phantom Dancer. It gives you a bit more, and then you got the 2 daggers which goes into the hurricane. So, waiting for that item completion. Really need to see something coming out from Raraton. They have 0 control over this bot side of that, where that dragon is going to be spawning. Got 3 minutes just shy of that to try and control that. OMG could flip the switch at any point and go towards the Baron if they so wished and don't want to fight Raraton around that dragon. Game really is in their hands. They're hitting all of their right power spikes, and there's Lucian Nami, which, remember, we were calling for the Samira, we were calling for that because it was open. However, OMG actually, first time of asking, did a good job around playing around that Lucian Nami power spike. That's continuing to go in their advantage for now. Have to, of course, stay ahead of this game. Last game was a couple of mistakes from OMG, and for both of these teams sat in the very nebulous mid-table club as we get through to the halfway point of this split. These games do mean an awful lot. Can't afford to be letting it slip just yet.
Yeah, OMG desperately need to win. A lot we can say about that, but pause for now, because that ulti from Shanji was just horrendous. It might be covered, though, as Shanji got the kill, surprisingly enough. And that was just Southwind caught out of position. I mean, what's new with Southwind?
Yeah, those are two very bad deaths to have in a row, actually. You understand that the power spike's coming in from the Lucian Nami. First time in that river, just maybe a bit of a lapse in vision, but still can't be the person tanking up all of that damage. The second time, trying to get some kind of vision, just somewhere to get yourself a pocket of vision to make picks through, but it's just not coming easily. And where at him, every time one of these picks comes through, it's going to become that much harder to play out the game. OMG in a good position, better position, crawling forward even further. Sizable gold advantage. Dragon in a minute, able to control the spot side of the rift yet again. Item completions coming through. They should be feeling very happy with themselves.
All right, Nymaera, at this point, if Dragon goes over to RA, I'll let you pick the champion I've played for 3 months straight. Okay? At this point, that's
really?
the faith. Yeah.
You're putting that on? What champions are playing right now? Give me some perspective.
I'm playing jungle, okay? We're talking
oh, that makes things wonderful. Okay, but how much do I want to? Okay, everything's on the line here. Your LP on the line. More so than just this series.
If RA gets Dragon, you can pick whatever jungle champion has to be viable. Even if you put me on... Oh, God, I just realized. Oh, my God. Let's wait and see, because there might not even be a Dragon, because OMG are running in. We're going to make this exciting, because Ahri found an ulti. And there goes the jungle chances. Never mind, I'm not playing what you say, because it's just over, it seems like. OMG want to take us to a game number 3. They don't even care about the neutral. We're going to run down mid, and Strive is in danger, and RA are just like headless chickens in this game, too.
Well, they've been beheaded, they've been put into the guillotine. OMG not making the same mistakes as the first game. Coming back in game 2 with, for all intents and purposes, a fairly similar draft, or at least a fairly different, same kind of set of win conditions. Don't fall behind early, team fight late. That's what they're doing much better this time. They're not giving those openings. Maybe removing something like the Ash meant more to Rare Atom than we potentially thought about coming from that first game. And it does feel like every single person on Rare Atom has a really difficult time with things down. You are not getting into the backline as a Wukong, as a Renekton against this front line. You're barely able to stand in river or in mid lane against this Lucian Nami if they choose to go forward. And OMG, with that Infernal Soul now, this game seems as good as done. They were in a good position last game and they managed to throw it, but this time it feels even more solid. OMG looking to bring us to a third game, and Rare Atom really going to have to rack their brains to see if there's anything left to be discovered here.
Okay, final hurrah. Does it exist? Leyan narrowly dodging away from the ward. Remember that was Infernal Soul. That was just given over to OMG. That Baron Live is being contested right now with thought from RA as well, but I mean, Ahri is still so tanky. Leyan does no damage to him, and I'm just kind of waiting for this one to pace it out as RA, if they get caught, this game's over.
See the damage coming in. That's a Guardian and a shield top of it. It doesn't look like it's done that much to the HP bar. That shredded through an awful lot of shields to get to that point. Creme on the flank as well. You have 0 vision, you have 0 damage, you don't have a flash in your support.
And Creme now flanking right onto Leyan. Jungler dead again. Cube's going to be next. He was 0-0 and 0. He just didn't play the game. And as RA get pushed in, we're going to a game 3. OMG have woken up a bit. In our 9-kill game, this is where it ends. I mean, I just, like tonight, we've said this multiple times, but I just don't feel like RA ever played the game, Nymaera. I'm not sure what happened here, but we just came into a game 1 where RA were half asleep.
Yeah, and
game
this
2,
was one of my big worries about why very early in the game, saw Leyan heading towards bot side. I understand that's a factor of the meta. I understand that. But you need to play through top side with this comp. They couldn't find a fight the entire game. They overforced on their first opportunity. And when that fell away, it felt like OMG just didn't care anymore. That was it. They were ahead of the game. That was fine. They just played it out and played through the objectives, played through the team fights. Rare Atom, they missed their first swing at the game, maybe focused on the wrong side of the map. And you're going into a game 3 now. If you're going to play a similar composition again where you want to actually be making picks, you need to be understanding how you're losing these games, because that one was not... It felt like they weren't pushing hard enough in the early game.
True. I mean, nothing really happened again. There were, like, as you said, summoners used, or summoner trades. But for RA, not that same transition in the mid-game they had in game number 1, where Strive was constantly initiating, constantly getting these picks along with the other tool in Southwind, and they followed from there. But Southwind on Enchanters, apparently just a different egg. Like, I think we've talked about this before in previous years, where Southwind on maybe like the Nautiluses or some of the engaged tools, like the champions that are really pushing for an advantage, that's the one that Southwind looks great on. When he's on things like Lulu, it's just, I don't know. It's just,
the 2v2s were fine. The laning phase was fine. If you're going to play towards that lane, though, that's not going to work out with that draft. So that's on the side of Rare Atom. I do think that most of the conversation should hinge on what Rare Atom didn't do in the early game, which they should have done. However, because that didn't come through, OMG, they had that ability to steamroll into a lead, play around those objectives. I really want to praise them for playing around immediately around that one item spike for that Lucian Nami, getting to that power spike and immediately making a play. That was one of the really big moments during that, with that first kind of catch onto Southwind. He doesn't die, but then he kind of gets flashed out and stuff like that. That was really when OMG, to me, is signaled that they actually understood how their composition was meant to be played. They understood their power spikes, and they never really let go after that point. OMG, very good at turning it on when they knew they had the items in their favor.
Able doing a lot of damage that game. Lucian Nami lane finally coming to fruition. They picked that instead of the Samira, even though it was left open for the first time. 37% of his team's damage and 100% kill participation, surprisingly enough. Not even PP God had that. I'm just surprised that Abel was involved in all kills.
Look
as
at
an
me,
AD
I am
carry.
the support now, but I'm also still the carry.
I'm also the carry now, yeah. And so a great game from Abel. I mean, Shanji as well, giving Sion yet another win is a good thing, especially since game number 1. I think we talked about it, he took it away. So good little rotation there for the top laner of OMG.
Yeah, and now you have to really return back to, particularly back to the early game for Rare Atom. I haven't really been impressed by either of their early games, and if that is going to be a continuing factor into game 3, maybe give yourself some more tools to fight out in that late game, which you did have in that game 1. It did feel like at least you had that Ash Arrow. You could make some more picks, which were easier to pull off. Second game, I haven't seen Cube again. Cube also not in a good matchup. There are multiple ways that Rare Atom could really bring themselves something more to play around. I think better 1v1 matchup, maybe banning away the Sion, maybe just taking a better pick into it as well and allow Cube to kind of show what he can do, what he's shown us so far in this spring, that he is one of the best tops in this split. And then also give themselves easy jobs to play through that mid and late game, because OMG, actually, they played through that really cleanly. We keep saying that.
Yeah. And again, OMG equal